hello there everyone, and as you can see here, I'm in the middle of my arch sub guitar build, and what I wanted to show you is the construction of a spindle sander that I basically created. The cost is really almost less than $10 compared to some of the other vendors out there that sell them as much as $70, and you'll see what I mean. Anyway, as you can see, when you're building an instrument like this, or for that matter any type of acoustic guitar, you know, the sides are left a little bit larger, so then once you have glued the top and then the bottom, you know, you'll need to get in there and, you know, with the sander then make this hole, you know, make the sides even and square before, obviously, you know, you got the binding and then you have a finished instrument. So I needed a sander that will allow me, you know, to get in there and maybe hold it this long and with some sandpaper, maybe on a drill bit, on a drill, and then get in there, get into those recurves and get around the body to actually sand the sides flush. So this is what I came up with. You'll see how simple this is. Let's put this aside here for a minute. PVC tubing. Okay, this is pretty simple. This is a 1x2. You know, you can get any diameter that you want. I believe that this diameter is basically pretty okay for getting, you know, getting in here, as you can see, with some paper, and even around, you know, the neck and the recurves. It fits very well to be able to sand that, and we'll create a spindle sander out of that, and I'll tell you how simple it is. So a couple of pieces. One is for sandpaper, where I'm going to basically use self-adhesive sandpaper. Now you can also cover this thing in cork or maybe soft leather if you want it to be a little bit softer, not a big deal. And then another part that I'm actually going to use as the handle, right? And I'm going to have a drill, handheld drill, that it's going to basically, I'm going to hold it like that. It's going to spin. And you'll see how that works together when I have the whole thing finished. So we need these two parts, some hardware. Now I had these parts laying around. This is a 1/4 20, about 2.5 inch bolt. You can also use carriage bolts. This is just a regular 1/4 inch 20. The nuts, some lock nuts, some washers, and a ball bearing. This is a ball bearing that I basically had laying around. You can get something like this for as little as $1. This one happens to be a 1/4 inch inside diameter, so it basically fits, you know, very nicely with the bolt. And as you can see, it allows it to rotate very easily, and you'll see how I mount that. And then what I did is I created a couple of parts in my CNC machine. Now you don't have a CNC machine, not a big deal. All they are just 3/4 inch plywood that I've cut into circles. Now the outside diameter of this is very closely to the inside diameter of the PVC type. In fact, it fits very tightly in there. As you can see, I don't want to push it all the way in because then I won't be able to get it out, but it needs to be very tightly fitting in there. And you know, you can make it a little oversized and then sand it down, and then you'll see how this whole thing fits together. You can glue it in there. You can actually use a couple of set screws, but I'll show you what the idea here is. So I've also on my CNC machine cut a recess here that again is the outside diameter of the bearing. Now again, you don't have to have a CNC machine to create something like this. You know, use a circle cutter. You can easily do this on a bandsaw, and then with Forstner bits you can actually create all the necessary diameters that you need to create this. Depending again on the ball bearing, you can make this much larger, you can make it smaller. Very, very simple. So the way this thing goes together is I take one of the bolts here. Again, I've created a recess there on the CNC machine, but again, you don't have to do this. You can use a carriage bolt, and that will lock very nicely in place. I take a washer, I take a lock nut, and then I put, you can tighten this down. I'm not going to do it here. You'll see the finished part. So that's one part. Very simple. Okay? We'll do the same thing for the other side. Put that in there. Again, I use a washer, a lock nut, And now here you can use a couple of nuts or one nut. It all depends how far away you want your handle to be. I found a couple of these is fine. Okay, and you can begin to see the idea here, right? Once you have these two parts assembled, all that we basically do is we take this, we stick it on one end, and we'll push that all the way in. We take this and we stick it at the other end. Again, you push these things all the way in. Now, and this now is very clearly balanced and works quite well. Now, what you can do, again, you can roughen the inside of the PVC type with a little bit of sandpaper, and then use some epoxy and epoxy these things in there. Or you can actually take a very small wood screw and use it as a set screw to hold it in place. If you do that, make sure you obviously create a recess, because you don't want that wood screw sticking out and basically wind up scratching something, right? Epoxy works quite well. It will hold these parts together, especially if you did, very carefully in cutting these to be very tight fitting inside the PVC pipe. Now, as you can see here, I take the other part that's going to be part of my handle, and this happens to be a ball bearing that has a flange. Again, you don't have to have this. You can use any standard ball bearing, and I just basically put it on one side like that. Okay, and I can just simply take this and stick it to this side, and you can see now this very freely, rotates very freely. And then when you have this thing assembled, you stick it in here like so. You'll see that this thing rotates very nicely and very easily against that ball bearing. What you can also do is use another ball bearing at the other end if you want to secure this whole thing down. You don't have to. This way, when you're done, you finish sanding, you can actually remove your handle and you can store it, right? And then when you want to sand again, you put your handle back in there and off you go. Okay? I'm actually going to show you how balanced this whole thing is. Again, it all depends on how well you create those plugs. Obviously, you want to center everything. You can use a dowel center finder. Using a CNC machine actually, makes the whole process much easier. But let me get my drill here, and you can see how nicely this whole thing rotates. Okay, so we have this whole thing assembled. Again, as you can see, we can remove the handle, and let me get my drill here. I just, using a small drill. You can use any size. In fact, you can also use a right angle, whatever you have. I obviously have this, and we're just going ahead and chuck that. You can tighten it. Now, what you can also do is you can very carefully file the bolt if you want to create some flat spots for the for the chuck of the drill to grab. You don't have to, but what's important is that this thing actually rotates with very low or no vibration. And as you can see there, I can go pretty fast, hold it down, and you can see there's very little, if no wobble, with whatever speed that I have. With the variable speed drill with the trigger there, you can dial any speed, and you can easily now, get in there. You can actually go from the other side as well, and then keep it level. Obviously, when you're sanding, you don't want to sand like that. Very easy to do, and then just get inside those curves of the guitar, and you can easily sand it. Less than $10 as compared to $70, $80 that some online folks want. You can get any sandpaper. Again, sandpaper like this, self-stick, works well. You can also, what you can do is you can take this, create a very similar base to this, and if you have a drill press, you can easily chuck this in the drill press. It can even be made a lot more flexible if you have a drill press table, and you can actually have your own spindle sander. Now, obviously, it's not an oscillating spindle sander, but for those areas where you need to sand something and you need to get in those curves, be it a guitar, be it whatever you're building, very, very effective, right? Obviously, if you're building chairs, you can just get in there at an angle and create any sort of contour. With this, you can change the diameters with different PVC pipe. You can make them as small, as long, or as wide as you need. Very, very simple, effective solution. Okay, so that's it. I'll be posting some other videos on some other jigs that I'm building for the construction of my arch top. And as always, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them or visit my website, cncguitar.com, and we'll get some more of these out for you. Thank you for watching.